We want to welcome you guys to L3 Perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Glenn Davis. I'm sitting here with my guy, Cameron Macias.
It's your boy, Killer Cam.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Glenn Davis. I'm sitting here with my guy, Cameron Macias.
Killer Cam.
And we wanted to welcome you to L3 Perspective, where we talk about life, where we talk about love, where we talk about leadership. And Cam, this conversation is going to be dope, man. Like, I'm excited about the conversation that we're about to have with this guy, man. Before I even introduce him, like, he's such a creative. He's such super talented, positive mindset. And I think a lot of our viewers will be able to, receive some value from just who he is.
Facts.
And so that's why we have this space, right, to bring, have those conversations where we're just simply providing value. And so without further ado, just want to introduce Mike Manning, also known as Mike Sarge.
Yep. And
Before
we get started, real quick, don't forget, subscribe, check us out, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Mike is also going to make sure he drops his information as well, because like Glenn said, creativeness is in his blood. But yes, sorry, Mike, tell us about yourself, brother.
No problem. Well, one, thank you guys for having me. It's stoked to be here. I'm excited to be here. Little on me, man. I'm originally I'm a Georgia boy from the South. Oldest out of 4 kids. So I learned very quickly, hey, get yourself together. I learned a lot about leadership very quickly. Like, hey, hey, why didn't you stop your siblings from doing this? I don't know. They just chose to do it because they wanted to. Well, you're the oldest, so guess what? It's on you, right?
Yeah.
But very quickly, like I learned about like leading people, taking care of those that are close to you and things like that. And my dad was actually active duty as well. He was Air Force. And I've got military within my family tree. But also we've got athletes, teachers. Both actually, my parents were like pastors actually. So what they say about preachers' kids? Well, it's kind of true. There's a lot of freshers that come along with that, and some of us are pretty bad. But honestly, man, like I've always been someone that's been a fan of art, just in general, just creativity, whether that's like music, and I love like music, like music. Most people assume because like I'm a rapper, they assume like my top five are like all
Yeah.
rappers. I'm like, nah, bro. One of my favorite artists is Frank Sinatra. Like,
Mm.
because I love music. I call him Frankie. Like, hey, bro, Frankie,
That's my
bro,
jam.
he that dude. And like I've always been that person. I love music. I love like art, whether it's like graphic design, fashion, all that type of stuff, man. And I've always been into it. So when I joined the military, I kind of thought that I had to like take a step back from that and go like, all right, hey, I'm serving, so I don't really
Yeah.
need to just be talking about this. And at that point, actually, I wasn't creating music as an artist. Like I was just a fan still.
Okay.
And then somewhere along the way, I was like, you know what? Let's just try it. Like
Mhm.
I have so much respect for people that are producers, rappers, singer songwriters, people that are in bands. And I'm like, yo, if I'm gonna make music, I don't want it to be trash. Like we don't
For
do
sure.
that here. Like
Yeah.
I don't want
Not
now
allowed
There's
y'all
level,
here.
there's standards.
Trash does not live here.
right, bro. Like we going to work and y'all gotta like not sit by me during lunch because I'm gonna ask you about my music. Like, hey, bro, you check out my stuff, and you're like,
Oh,
yeah,
you're the disc guy.
right. Like, yeah, I heard it. It's alright. Like, I didn't want that for me. So I
Yeah.
started doing music. I started doing hip hop. I'll say like 20, where I took it seriously. I'll say like 2013, 2014. And honestly, I started doing it and thought like, oh, this is all right. And actually, what caused me to take it to the next step is when I noticed the impact I was having on people. Um,
Mm.
because most of the time when you think rapper, you think like, oh, kind of the flash, the
Yeah.
ego, the like superstar mentality, and I'm not really built that way.
Yeah.
Like I like serving people. So when I do
Mhm.
music, normally there's like a story attached to it of like what motivated me to do that song. I've
Mhm.
done songs about like, yeah, having fun, my pitfalls and stuff like that. But I talk about bullying, I talk about the thought of depression, I talk about like life, bro. And so, if I figure most rappers can talk about drugs, money, and whatever, I'm like, well, then I could talk about whatever I want. It's art, it's creativity,
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
And so, believe it or not, my military career also has it's inspired some of my songs too,
Yeah.
because I've been like the leader basically my whole life.
Yeah.
sometimes I saw examples of not so good leadership, and I'm thinking like, yo, I thought the military was like the peak of leadership, like in your mind. If
Everybody
you're
was
not in the
killing it.
military, once you like when you're joining, you're thinking like, oh, I'm about to be just surrounded by great leaders, like the MLKs, the Gandhis, and then you join, and you're like, oh, y'all bugging too. Y'all just like me. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so I think like it caused me to go, man, I need to have balance in my creative thought
Mhm.
processes and also, hey, I gotta like show people that you can do what you love and serve your country.
Oh, for sure.
And
Mm,
and that like that goes beyond the military too. If you're a teacher, doctor, lawyer, you can still
Yeah.
do what you love and you can still do what you love and have a family, do what you love and work hard at your job, do what you love
Mhm.
and like watch your favorite Netflix series or whatever. It's all about balance, responsibility, and discipline,
right.
man. It's like it's really
Yeah.
all about that. So just that's a little on me, like just how I came to be. There's so much more to me, but like we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Um, so like the perfect testament as far as like you said, like just like built like the way you're built, like that whole built differently. So, me and Mike came together because of someone we know who's also built differently. And she recognized, she said, she met Mike and she said, you need to meet Cam. And then she messaged me and said, you need to meet Mike. And
Mm,
so we connected and so forth. And you're so right when you talk about like that you don't have to be one thing or two things or whatever you want to be. I was talking to a friend the other day about some finance stuff and he was like, "Oh, that doesn't like that's weird. You sound more like a financial advisor than you do a coach right now." And I was like, "Well, I'm both. Like
Mhm.
I'm this. Like there is not just one thing that I concentrate my time, let alone my passions for.
mhm.
Like that's why I want to be well rounded. You feel me? So
Yeah.
and that's something that me and Glenn have talked a lot about because I have skills that I'm good at, he's not, and vice versa, and that's why like we really come together to
It
like
works.
build off each other. Like where can we work together, and where can we just be support?
Yeah. It kind of
Mhm.
goes back to something you said when you were kind of talking about, kind of who you are about serving people, right? And so that's something that kind of that stands out when we talk about our mission, right? Whether it's the podcast, right? That overall serving people, adding value to people, and I think a lot of people miss that mark. Like they try
Mm,
to do things just for the sake of doing them,
mm,
and or because it has a dollar figure assigned to it. Just like Cam was mentioning with the with the in the financial industry, just the key is to serve people,
mm.
right? You, like educate folks. So if you could dive into that a little bit when you talk about your passion and with serving people through your music, through your platform, why is that important to you?
Oh man, like it, it,
Tell
it
us more,
feels
Mike.
like well, so I'll say this, like number one, like for me, personally, like serving people is important because I feel like that's one a part of my purpose.
Mm,
Um, I feel like it is easy to be self-serving, like it is. Like
mhm,
I could, you can walk into a mall and buy you like your favorite jacket or favorite
right.
jean
Facts.
brand or whatever, and you're cool. Like it's like there's a Dion quote, like, "Hey, when you look good, you perform good," stuff like that, and it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
But also there's something about impacting people that goes beyond you. And when
Mm,
it goes beyond you, now we're not talking about just a talent or a skill set, we're talking about legacy.
right.
And
Facts.
I've always said if like something happened to me tomorrow, and if the only thing that people could say is like, yo, he was a good worker and he made good music, if that's all people could say about me, then man, I didn't do a good job of letting you know what I stood for.
Yeah.
Like, and
Mm,
so like for me, serving is important, number one, because I feel like it's attached to my purpose, but also because like if we're being honest, um, serving people allows them to be great at the things we see in them, but they don't see in themselves yet.
right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Ooh,
And
absolutely.
sometimes like sometimes like if you think about it like your own personal life, sometimes like your biggest steps in growth as a person, as a creative or whatever you do, hasn't been like always because you figured it out. It's because
Yeah.
someone said something to you or they even hinted at something like, hey, like what you're doing over here, please keep doing that. Like you
Right.
may not, no one's probably said this to you, but keep going. Or like, yo, you're better than this. Why are you settling for less than
Mm,
Yeah.
what like you're worth? Right.
Hmm.
And so like I believe that it's my job in some ways to make sure that people know, like, hey, just continue to be authentically you. You don't got to be like this person over here. Like,
Yeah.
and to be honest, you trying to be them ain't gonna work because you don't have their story. It's not
It's
Don't
gonna
look
work,
good.
man.
not gonna
Like,
work.
Yeah.
you don't have their story, you don't have their experiences. And so like
Yep.
even for me as an artist, when I like help other artists and producers and even people that are like subordinates to me, I say like, look, don't look at other people and go like, man, I have to have that. I gotta have that car.
Yeah.
I gotta have that house. Because you know what?
Right.
You don't know what they did to get that. You don't know
Yep.
that journey for better or for worse. Like some of them may have something that they got doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, but other people
Yeah.
got there and they had to go through hell to get that. Like you have
Yep.
no idea what they went through to get
Yeah.
it. Like the same people you see, like if you think about middle school and high school, the cool kids, right? Like
Right.
Yeah.
the ones that you
That
like,
peak.
oh, I want to sit at that table.
Mhm.
I can't sit at that lunch table. I ain't them, right? But those will be the same ones that they're smiling. They have all the new clothes, shoes, whatever. And when they get back home, they don't have a family dynamic, or maybe like there's domestic violence happening
Right.
in their
Yeah.
home, or
Exactly.
like tons of stuff you don't know nothing about. All you see is like, but they look good on the outside. So for
Nice.
me, it's just like my purpose is really centered around people and serving, and it also feels good too. Like to be honest with you,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
feels good to help people at the end of the day. Now that
Yep.
doesn't mean don't focus on you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like I've learned that over time, like, hey, don't burn yourself out because there will
Oh
always
yeah.
be another person that needs help. But like,
Mhm.
I feel like, man, it's just ingrained in what I do, and my parents have a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like not just my dad serving in the military, but my mom, like as well, like ingraining in us, like, hey, you don't work, you don't eat. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes
Yep.
in order to eat, sometimes you won't have the skill set or even the resources to do what you need to do. So sometimes you need to take care of other people because those same people will come back to you and when you're in dire need to like bless you and help you out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just ingrained in what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. My boy Calvin calls it the light bulb. Like you were saying earlier, like when people someone's you say something to someone and then that sparks that light. And we've remained friends because realistically he helped me turn my light bulb on. Like, how 10 oh God, I'm so old now.
You know,
12 years ago. But and every time we talk, he talks about that is like it's all about the light bulb and what you're doing. You may not see the light bulb turn on now.
Mhm.
The light bulb may turn on in 10 years, but it's because of that 10-year journey and that thing you said 10 years ago that helped it eventually turn on. And like those are the lessons we have to remain cognizant about as we're talking to people, helping them,
Mhm.
growing them, all those types of things. But I feel you on the it feels good, right? I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, why do some people just like help people? Because at the end of the day, life is a what's in it for me thing. I don't care what I don't care what anybody says. What in it?
Yeah.
And I think too many times people get it twisted where that has to be a monetary value. Um, there's a growth value to that. Not
Mhm.
like I've told people, if I spend an hour just chopping it up with you, that's because I needed a light in my life to just
Mm,
talk in that moment, and that's what was in it for me is I just wanted to have a real conversation that had no business attached to it whatsoever.
mm,
So yeah, and I know we've
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah, 100%. And something you said about just kind of tying everything in when you talk about just serving people and you talked about legacy, right? And so there's this, I was actually, in stationed in Mississippi. By the way, shout out to you for serving and your family tree serving as well. I definitely appreciate the footprints left in the sand. But when I was in Biloxi, I remember coming across a quote. I don't remember the guy, but a wise man, and he was talking about legacy, and he was just like, a legacy isn't something that you leave for people; it's something that you leave in them.
mm,
And right, so when you go back to your purpose, when you go back to kind of doing what you do, that is something that I live by. Like that quote, I you know often tell people that piece because we get that the definition of legacy misinterpreted. And
Yeah.
so just kind of highlighting that, man. And with that, I know you've said something in the past about running your race, right? So when you talk about
yeah.
legacy, when you talk about your purpose, running your race, like what is can you share your thoughts on people running their race?
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of hinted at a little bit of it just a few moments ago when I said like, hey, be careful of when you're trying to reach your goals, looking at
Mm-hmm.
the pace that everyone else is going.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know, essentially like running your race. And I said like I'm in a place in my life where like I'm okay where I'm at. Like I'm
Right.
okay. Um, I'm okay knowing that, like, hey, certain things that I want to get better at, it may
Mhm.
take some time,
Yeah.
and like I need to just relax and enjoy the journey. And it's hard to do
Yeah.
that when you feel like you're in a how do I phrase this? Sometimes it's hard when you feel like you're in a dry season of your life, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
You
100%.
feel
Yeah.
like
Mm.
nothing that you're doing is working because you don't see it. Like you don't see that
Right.
it's working. And the way I like to tell people is like I like to sow seeds essentially. So
Mm.
when you sow a seed, when you're trying to plant anything, there's a moment where you start to doubt because you're like, man, I'm watering this thing. I know it's getting good sunlight, yada yada. But because you don't
Right.
see it,
Nurturing
Air
it.
quality straight.
yeah,
Yeah.
bro, because you haven't seen it like break ground yet, you're doubting and you're thinking like, oh, this isn't working. Like, why did I even do this anyway? And sometimes people feel that, like, hey, you're trying to lose weight. And every time
Mhm.
you hop
Yeah.
on that scale, it's either the same weight or maybe you gain 2 or 3 pounds. You're like, well,
Right.
Yeah.
why am I doing this? And it's because you don't feel like you see the promise, you don't see the whatever. And I tend to tell people, yo, focus on the goal. Don't try to
Mm.
Yeah.
skip levels. You know,
Right.
like run your race because 9 times out of 10, and this is the part that people miss, like we get so hyper focused on where we are compared to other people that we don't
Yeah.
even realize there are people that are watching us
Yep.
and we're inspiring them
100%.
so that they can reach their
Mhm.
goals. And
Oh yeah.
like and we don't think that way because I think the average person just thinks like um that people don't look up to them, like they don't consider it, I should say. Like we don't even
Yeah.
consider it. We're watched every day. People watch what we do, what we say, what well I should say they watch what we do more than what we say, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
100%.
Kids are like that, right? Like I can tell my son whatever, but what he gonna do? He
Mhm.
gonna watch that. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
watch how I respond to conflict. He's gonna watch how I respond to like maybe a homeless person on the street. Do I just ignore this person or do I say like, hey, let me check my car to see if I got a food, blanket, t-shirt, whatever I can help them out with? He's
Right.
Yeah.
gonna respond to that more than anything I actually tell him. And so when
Mhm.
I say run your race, it's like, hey, stay focused on what you're doing, and also sometimes remind yourself of why you're even in that race in the first place.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like as an artist, like I have to do that because sometimes you can feel burnt out and feel like you're always giving, 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 and then you take a few steps back and you're like, yo, why am I doing it? And like
Right.
people shouldn't feel bad for asking that question. If you get to a point where you're like, man, I don't even know why I'm in this. Like
Yeah.
Right.
simple questions like, man, I don't even know why I'm working this job. I don't know why am I in this marriage? Why do I go to
Mhm.
this church? Why do I do yourself that question? Like, and people feel
Yeah.
bad about asking that question because they feel like, oh, that means I'm in trouble if I can't answer that question.
Right.
It could
Yeah.
just be that
Like,
like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It could just mean that, like, yo, you're just in a place in your life where you're growing and maturing and you can't go back to the old you. So you're
Yeah.
just hustling with, okay, so what's the next step? But that
Yep.
doesn't
Right.
mean you're a bad person or a terrible individual because you're asking yourself, like, okay, is this something I need to keep in my life or is this a situation where I need to change? Either I need to change or I need to change the people that are around me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
In this
So
season. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah, so all of that is when I say run your race, it's like paying attention to all of it. Like, okay, the pace of your race, paying attention to who's in the side corner cheering you on and who's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Even to the point of like the way that you're racing. Are you walking? Are you jogging? Are you running? And for some people,
Yeah.
right? And so when I say that, like people are like, well, I don't, what do you mean by like, am I walking? Am I jogging? Am I running? Some of us have had a business idea in our mind for 5 plus years
Mhm.
and we've been sitting and we ain't running our race and we know we supposed to be uh-oh uh-oh some people
Welcome
have
to
been
L3 Perspective.
I'm just hey man well, hey, but that's what I mean. Like some people have
Yeah.
been sitting on things for years. Some people have been wanting to like say build families, but they're scared they won't be able to like get pregnant, which is a real thing, or they
Yeah.
won't be able to provide for their kids, or like so some people have been just sitting on a dream,
Mhm.
on something that
Hmm.
they are able to do. But maybe
Mm.
because of their family history and everyone else in their family have tried things and they failed, they're thinking, well, I can't do that
Yeah.
because it's within the family, right? And
Mm.
they don't even realize that they could be the breakthrough for the family to change the entire spectrum of the next few generations. Like they don't even know it,
Talk
right?
that talk,
Yeah.
Mike. Talk that
So,
talk.
I'm just saying, bro. You got people sitting, and then on the other end of that spectrum, bro, you got people sprinting at something that they're not purposed to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
you got people that are like, I'll give you actually a super clear example when it comes to artists and military members. Like, well, I didn't get that rank, or like no one's telling me about my music, and it's like, well, fam, you're sprinting before like you can really walk. Like, first of all,
Right.
from the
There's a process.
like rank perspective, well, what did you do this year to show them that you're ready for the next rank?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, be honest. Well, like, well, I mean, I helped out with one event. All right, that's cool. Like, I'm all down for doing that. But what about work? What about like, did you help anyone do anything this year? Did you like what else? And they're like, well, I just really went to work and then I went home.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you did what 85% of the force might be doing, but you want to be considered like top 15.
Fact. Oh yeah.
Give me my
Like,
number.
Give me my receipts.
damn, like, come on, like,
Mm.
Yeah.
it's one of those things, like, you're wanting things that you haven't put in the work for.
Right.
For
And so
sure.
when I say sprinting, what I mean is like you're trying to go out there and act like you're one of the top runners in the race, but you ain't been training like one of the top runners in the race. And so you're
Mm.
Yeah.
burning out quicker, you're hurting yourself, you're getting disappointed, all this other stuff because you want to be seen as a leader without
Mm.
being disciplined like a leader.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
like,
Mm.
the- when I say run the race, bro, it's all of that.
Yeah. You want to be seen as a leader rather than say that again?
You want to be seen
You
as
want
a
to be
leader
seen
with
as a leader instead of doing what leaders do.
yeah.
Hopefully y'all taking notes, man.
Take take the receipts. Your Glenn almost fell out of his chair.
I love that leadership topic, man. That's a passion of mine. So,
Yeah.
when we talk about leadership, people being filling that role versus being an effective leader, like I love that's a talk in itself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
No, I mean, and I went through that. I like you and I talked about is I went through that season of my life. Probably with honestly, I'm still lightweight. I'm at the back end of it now, but there, within the last 2 years, I had those things. There were all those questions
Mhm.
you just said. Am I in the right job? Do I want to do this? What do I want to do when I retire?
Mhm.
I thought I wanted to do this. I put all my eggs in this basket, but that is actually the basket I want to be in. So
Right.
I had to make that conscious choice. Do I take this easy route or do I somewhat start over? And my mom always told me don't run away from a challenge. So I was like, all right, bet I'm gonna like start over. And it
Mhm.
wasn't really starting over, but in my mind I made it that, right? Because it's just like, oh, I put so much work into this, and realistically, it just transferred over. But I had to
Mm,
take that leap first, and I had to be honest with myself too. I was going hard and burning out and doing all those things you were talking about, not just on my day job, but like all the extra stuff that I was trying to do.
mm,
And I then took a 9 month hiatus. I mean, I had people checking on me. They were like, "Yo, bro, like, are you okay? Like, you went from every single." And it's funny because that social media thing. You went from every single day on social
Mhm.
media posting great things
mhm,
to nothing overnight for 9 months. And I was like, because I had to sit down and focus on Cam, and I couldn't do that in this environment.
Mhm.
mm.
And I took that time, and now it's honestly just made the journey even better because now I'm so much more focused now that I have asked kind of those real questions of myself.
Yeah.
Mm. That's
I
good.
want to before we wrap up, I want to because like I said, as I was looking up different things, like I became, like I said, just a fan of your craft, right? So from
You
the
did say
yeah, from a music
that.
aspect, from like making the beats, producing, like all of that. Could we quickly dive into that aspect? Like, how does all of that
Yeah.
make Mike Surge the Mike Surge, right? And so,
Mm.
obviously having a love and passion for doing what you do, how does that all wrap and intertwine to be able to still impact people through your lens?
Oh, that's a good question. So, like the first part of it is like you got to know who you are. Like, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you try to walk into it and do major goals, major dreams,
Mhm.
whatever, and you don't know who you are, then it's going to be very easy for whatever industry that you're in to change you
Yep.
and to get you to compromise on things you wouldn't normally compromise on. And so
Mhm.
for me, I know what's important to me.
Yeah.
For me, that would be like my faith, my
Mhm.
family, my love for music and people, things
Hmm.
like. So I know where I'm like grounded in.
Yeah.
That's the
Mm.
first part. But I think, to be honest with you, and maybe this is something that it doesn't get talked about a lot in general, but some people will say like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Like I don't know what my thing
Mm,
is, or I don't know what my purpose is.
Yeah.
And like for me, in regards to those things you mentioned, like my creative art and the things that I do, one thing led to the others.
Mm.
So
mm,
music, me starting music and me being dedicated to it made me go like, all right, cool. I released my first song. It doesn't quite sound as good as the artist that I listened to. So now I'm trying to get better at my songwriting.
yeah.
Then I noticed people would say like, oh, well, I like the beat though. Like, okay, that doesn't help me. That means like my lyrics were trash. So
My lyrics are trash. What are you
so
trying
I
to say?
started studying. I made a list of 5 to 10 artists that I love their hooks or their choruses, and I studied them for like 6 months straight.
Okay.
6 months straight, like ones I considered to be great, right?
Yeah.
And then I got better at my hooks, and then I realized I was like, yo, I need features, right? So there's like this
Mm,
there's this progression that's
progression.
happening.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I realized, wait, like people are listening to my music, but when they hear one song, it sounds this loud, and then they get to the next song, it's like super super quiet. So then I realized,
yeah.
oh, mixing, like I need to get better at that. Then
Yeah.
artwork, right? Album artwork. So there's a progression in that. And then what's funny is once I got good at like the music piece, I started performing. So I'm going out
Mm,
doing open mics, doing festivals, conferences, and then I get off stage and I'm getting asked all these questions from artists, regardless of genres. And I'm like, yo,
yeah.
I feel like I'm answering the same questions. So that's where my YouTube came from. Because I
Mm.
figured if I just make a video and post it and people ask me questions, I could just go, hey, go to my YouTube video, which is probably one of the greatest things that I ever did, which was starting my channel.
Yeah.
But the channel would have never happened if I never was an artist. And me
Yeah.
being an artist taught me how to mix audio, which allowed me to do editing and videos easier because I understood music and
Yeah.
like not clipping and stuff like that, distortion, all that other stuff. And then what's funny about that is once you get to that point, you're really in social media once you're on YouTube. Because now I'm learning
Yeah.
about the algorithm, all that other stuff, the titles, the tags, the competitive things that people kind of in your space are doing, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm teaching artists how to do social media all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing competitions and all that other stuff. And like even now, I told you guys earlier, like I'm at a like songwriting festival right now where people are asking me questions nonstop and things like that. So like I say all that to say like people sometimes look at the end goal of what they want to do and don't realize there are steps to get there.
So many
And
That's
that's
steps.
why
that's big.
that's
Yeah, that there's like
that's what I
this
said
thing
like
called
don't skip
time.
levels. That's what I said when I said don't skip levels. Like you have to, Joe, enjoy the journey, bro.
Yeah.
Like enjoy the journey because then you're gonna get to the levels you want to get to, and then you're gonna look back and go like, "Yo, that happened so fast."
Yeah.
Like, where did all that time go? When you're working, bro, like it's gonna happen. So
Right.
like the time gonna fly anyway. So you might as well put in the work. Like you might as
Yeah.
well. Like you might
Might
as
as
well put
well.
in the work. So for me, man, like that's where it all comes from. It's like I know who I am, like work ethic wise, like who supports me, who doesn't. But then I
Yeah.
just take that and I'm diligent with what I have. Like
Hmm.
I don't go, well, I'm not a millionaire. I don't go like, well, I don't have this connection. Because sometimes
Right.
you're going to be at a disadvantage depending on who you are. Like you
For
might
sure.
have a disadvantage at certain things. Some people don't know how to talk well. Like some people don't know how to like type an email that's professional yet,
Right.
but it takes
Mhm.
time to learn those things. Like you could have the best intentions in the world when you send me an email, but then I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait, did you do that all caps? Oh, so you're getting aggressive with me. Okay, got you, right? Like it's just certain things take time. And I think that if people are able to just sit back, ask the real questions, know who they are, and go like,
Hmm.
all right, so what's my plan for getting there? And I'm going to be dedicated to that plan and not just like waver just because I'm not going at the pace I expected, or
Right.
Yeah.
don't waver because they're like, this is taking a lot of my money to be able to do
Hmm.
this dream or do this thing. Like, yeah, it, dreams cost. I need
Yeah.
to put that
Mm.
on a t-shirt, bro. Dreams
For
cost.
Yeah.
sure.
Dreams
There's
cost.
a couple things we,
Yeah. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the.
We're gonna. Yeah. We'll give you some rights to it.
Bro,
So.
dreams cost. It costs you time with your family, it either costs you money, it costs
Yeah.
you friends sometimes.
Yeah.
Like dreams cost, bro. Like if
Hmm.
I could get anyone to take anything from the day, like it's going
That's it.
it's going
Yep.
it's going to impress you because dreams will also change you for the better.
For
Mhm.
And
sure.
you'll learn very quickly that like, oh snap, it's not me. I'm not the issue. I should have left that situation months
Yeah.
ago. Like I
Mhm.
should have
Yeah.
cut that off months ago. Like, and sometimes it's not always people. Sometimes it's bad habits that we do, like,
Yeah.
or
100%.
or maybe things that we were raised and taught, or just
Yeah.
whatever. Like some of it isn't even other people. It's just like, oh, I need to grow up. Like I just need to do better. I just need to be better. My
Yeah.
my dad has always said, hey, when you know better, you do better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
And
Oh.
so like,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, so but that's it, guys. Like it's just, hey, run your race, do what you do best, and take your talents and take the things that you're good at and just run with it. Don't let nobody tell you nothing. Just run with it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So as we wrap up, Mike, why don't you tell people where they can find you? Like, like YouTube, Instagram, all that.
Oh man, I'm everywhere. So Mike, so the website is mikesarge.com. As far as like Sarge, short for Sergeant, Sarge. You can find me at really anywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok now.
Okay. Oh, you're
So like, anywhere. And the cool part is, like, I always tell people, like, if you ever have a question for me, just shoot me a message. Like I do check my messages. Like I do check my emails. And at the same time also, like, hey, don't get mad at me like if I don't respond to you within like 30 minutes,
yeah,
because
for
like
sure.
I got stuff to do, like y'all got stuff to do, like
I'm out running my race.
Yeah.
I'm running my race. Like I can't be slowing down for everybody. Come on now, unless you want to pay me though. Like, hey, if you
Yeah.
want to like fly me out
Put
to come
dollar
speak,
signs in the subject sign, then I'll get back to you real
hey,
quick.
bro, hey, yeah, that's the quickest way to get a response back, bro. You send that email like, hey, we'll pay for your plane ticket to come speak to our group or our like squadron organization, whatever. I'll be like, oh, you know what? Got you.
Mhm. Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Mike, man, definitely appreciate your time. Thank you for hopping on. Guys, for those that are watching, Mike drops so many nuggets, right? He drops so much information that could potentially help that one individual, man. And so, obviously, like I mentioned to Cam, like Cam and I often talk about, this is what the space is here for, right? If we can impact that one individual
Mm.
and help them to, you know, navigate through life in that dark moment, this is why we're here. Mike, I'm definitely gonna be following you, man. Appreciate you tuning in from Hawaii. Appreciate you hopping on this in that sunny weather over there. But Mike, thanks again for your time, man.
For
Y'all have a
sure.
good
Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
one.